Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. And we're going to be talking about how it is that you can create a vision for yourself. And I need you to understand this is not just about coming up with some wishy-washy dream, right? This is about you creating a meaningful, lasting, and enduring vision that is geared towards action, accountability, and profound personal success. So the first step with regards to this process is to actually start backwards. And I know that this sounds a little bit weird, so let me explain myself. So with regards to that particular area in your life where you are wanting to create a vision, let it be your career or let it be your business, you're going to come up with the worst possible scenario. Okay. And the reason that we actually do this is when people are asked what it is that they are wanting to create and what it is that they want to move towards, they often struggle to articulate what that looks like. They really cannot come up with the ideal scenario. It's really difficult for them. And they are often stuck in their current personal circumstances and cannot see past that. So this is probably largely to do with the fact that your ego mind steps in, which is your protective mechanism. And it's looking at it and it's like, geez, like you want to move to that place, but we don't know what it's like there. So there's this fear of the unknown. It means change, and it's a possible place of pain. So why would it do you any favors in terms of making it easy for you to access that? So when it is that we are reverse engineering what it is that we are wanting to create, we tap into our brain's natural tendency to actually access negative information or negative outcomes far easier. And I just want to explain to you why it is that this happens in our brains and talk a little bit about how our brains operate. So first of all, I want you to think about our ancestors, right? And they lived in a time where they were constantly surrounded by danger. So it was really important for them to get information from their particular environment and act swiftly so that they didn't end up dead or maimed or hurt or whatever the case may be. So what would need to happen is they would need to get negative information from that environment and react swiftly to it to survive. So what quickly happened was that this is something that became a fundamental part of their survival. And this is something that through our evolutionary journey has actually become a part of who we are. And through this, it's actually interesting that our brains are far more attuned to negative stimuli than positive stimuli. So it's really interesting to know that. The next thing this talks to this is neuroscience. And what it says is that our brains actually process negative experiences and information far more thoroughly than positive information and experiences. So what happens is when you are experiencing something negative, your brain just shifts into overdrive. And then what happens is all of these cognitive processes really start working, and the areas of your brain that are linked to emotion and memory light up, but in a far more significant way than if you're actually processing positive information or experiences. And then what happens is that this is etched into your mind in such a way, and this doesn't necessarily happen the same way with regards to positive information to that extent, but it's etched in your mind in such a way that you can really easily access it, right? It's easy for you to actually get there from a conscious standpoint. It's not hard for you to access. So it makes sense that our minds naturally gravitate towards the negative, right? And then there's something called negativity bias. And what this talks about is that negative events actually have a far greater impact on our psychological state than positive events of the same intensity. So this negativity bias, it actually affects the way that we perceive memories. It affects the way that we make decisions. It affects the way that we actually perceive things. And this is something that actually, again, speaks to the fact that we are hardwired towards negativity, right? So when it is that we understand this, we can use this as a tool to create the vision that we want by going to the easy place, which is what are the negative things? Where don't I want to be? So we can actually create the thing that we really do want for ourselves. So I'm going to ask you some questions now with regards to, again, what it is that you do not want to create, right? So I want you to think about the worst possible outcome. And I want you to think about this in terms of the next 5 to 10 years. So the first question with regards to that is, with regards to your personal circumstances around finance, so that is your dependence on other people, your financial freedom, and your annual and monthly income, what would that look like? So what would your finances look like in that space? The second question is, where and what type of place would you live or work? So this is really around the physical place, right? So I want you to think about this in terms of climate, region, costs, safety. I really want you to then get into the nitty-gritties of that. So I even want you to go so far as to say, well, in that particular place in my worst case scenario? What will the floors look like? What will the walls look like? Are there a lot of windows? Does the place have a particular smell? So really get into the finer details of what that worst case scenario could look like for you. Then the third question is, what type of work will I be doing? How many hours a week will you be doing that in what type of environment? So you need to think about, in terms of the work that you will be doing, what would give you the least job satisfaction, the most stress, and the most frustration? And then in terms of how many hours a week you're going to be doing that, would it be done day shift? Would it be done night shift? Would you have to work all of the weekends? Would you be working 200 hours a week? So what would it look like in terms of when it is that you actually need to be doing that work? And then the other thing is, who would you be surrounded by? What type of people? Would they be unintelligent? Would they be loud? Would they be too quiet? Would they be obnoxious? So I really want you to think about what it is that would make this thing the worst possible place to work on the planet. And then what type of work would you be doing there? Question number 4 is, what would your quality of life look like? So this talks to your ability to spend time with your family, the ability to spend time with your friends, your ability to do recreational activities. Would you be able to travel? And what would the quality of your relationships look like? So those are really key questions to answer in terms of what it is that you don't want. And then the final question is, with regards to this place, what would your personal growth and accomplishments look like? So in terms of your personal growth, would you not have grown at all? Would you be exactly the same as you are now? Or would you have regressed in terms of going back to old habits and patterns? And then in terms of what you've accomplished, would it only be things that are insignificant and things that don't hold any meaning for you? So things that are actually not worth your time. So what would that look like in terms of the worst case scenario? So once it is that you have answered all of these questions, right, I want you to start building your ideal scenario by moving away from that. And what you're going to start to see is this beautiful picture emerge in terms of what it is that you do want to create for yourself. Where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing there? What profoundly important work will you be doing in that space? And then even thinking about the region that you would like to be, right? So it's an incredible exercise to actually help you move towards the goal that you actually want to achieve. I have found this profoundly important in terms of my life too. I too struggled to actually create a vision for myself, and being able to lean into that negative really helped me to come up with what it is that I actually do want for myself. And it served more than one purpose. Through me actually leaning into my fears and concerns for the future, I brought them into the conscious space, which means I can actually work on them now. I don't need to push them away anymore. I don't need to resist them. I can do the work to move past that so that they don't become obstacles for me. Because like Carl Jung says, right, what we resist persists. So it's important that we actually do the work to move past those things. Step number 2 is to examine your beliefs. So what we are going to be covering here is, I want you to delve into what you were taught as a child in terms of what success means. So this is through those little sayings that you heard your parents say, also other influential adults in your life, and you probably use some of those sayings yourself. So I'm going to give you an example of the things that I was taught as a child. So the first thing is, money is the root of all evil. Then you cannot live on hopes and dreams. I will be successful when my ship comes in. Success is often at the expense of others, and you cannot have your cake and eat it. So it would naturally then make sense that I would not actually help myself move forward. I would constantly self-sabotage and derail getting there, because I feel like earning good money is bad. I feel like it's evil. I feel like I'm going to hurt people along the way, right? This is talking to those deep-seated beliefs that are actually sitting in my unconscious and driving my behaviors. If I think that my dreams cannot sustain me, why on earth would I move towards them, right? And remember, this is all happening at an unconscious level. You can see then, if I believe that I do not have any control over my dreams and moving towards what I want, why would I actually do that? It seems to me like in the unconscious space, I potentially believe that I have to wait for that to come to me, that I cannot go and get it. And there's a chance that I'm actually going to be hurting people along the way. Right? So these are really important beliefs that could be sitting and driving the behaviors. So a really great trick that I learned in terms of shifting these beliefs is to turn it into a positive statement. If you can attach humor to it, if you can actually even tie it to higher purpose, that's even better. So let me give you an example of what this could look like. So with regards to you cannot have your cake and eat it, You can say something like, you cannot have your cake and eat it unless you bring a fork. Money is the root of all evil, right? Well, money is the root of all evil only if you make it your master. If you allow if you allow money to be a tool for you, as opposed to you being a slave to it, you can actually use money to reach your higher purpose. The next one is success is often at the expense of others. Only if you forget what's important. If you make your success geared around higher purpose, there is no way that you are going to intentionally hurt people along the way. And then there is, you cannot live on hopes and dreams. And this is an important one. You cannot live on hopes and dreams until you know what they are and make conscious, intentional actions to move towards them. So you can see that you actually then change this. So what I want you to do is revise those statements for yourself. You're then going to go and write them down and put them up in your space. And I would then challenge you to actually repeat these things to yourself daily. And what I also want you to do is get yourself into a space where you attach emotions of happiness, joy, love, and excitement, right? So that will really help you to actually reframe these things. Step number 3 then is move towards the emotion. So once it is that you have actually allowed yourself to delve into the first 2, I want you to go make sure that you've really been thorough in terms of writing these down. I then want you to go and find a quiet space for yourself, and you're going to allow yourself to connect to what is on that piece of paper from an emotional standpoint. And then I want you to notice when it is that you're looking at that, what is coming up for you, right? So what are you feeling in your body? What are the emotions that are attached to that? Where are they coming up, and how intense are those emotions? And then I want you to notice what is going on in your mind. And you're probably going to find all of these thoughts coming up in terms of why you shouldn't do things or why you can't do things. Now, the natural thing that you would want to do is actually just move away from that, right? You would maybe try and be positive to a toxic level, whatever the case may be. But I'm going to challenge you to do something different. I want you to move towards it. So I'm going to say to you, turn that voice up louder. Invite those feelings in. Really allow yourself to actually experience that. And when you are doing that, I want you to sit with 2 key questions. And the first one is, why are these thoughts and feelings showing up for me? And the next one is, what are they protecting me from? And I want you to hold these thoughts in your mind daily, because chances are you're not going to get to the answers immediately. You're going to have to work a little bit to get to that. But with conscious intention, you actually allow yourself to connect to that divine wisdom inside you that will bring you those answers. There is a chance that you may struggle to get to those by yourself at all. And that's where it's great to work with a coach like me, because we can help you access those things that are really sitting in that unconscious space and why these things are actually showing up for you, right? So I want you then to really lean into that. Then step number 4 is tracking and accountability. So this is one of the steps that people really fail to actually do well. So they do all this work around, oh, this is what I want to achieve, blah, 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 but they actually don't do anything to move there, right? Nothing is going to happen if you don't take action towards it. So this talks to, what are the physical things that I have to do to get me there? Right? And in terms of those things that I need to do, which of those are urgent, which are far more important, right? Which is going to get me to the closest place that I need to be to that far quicker than the other things. And then you need to think about when you are going to be doing those things. And you need to break this down to things you need to do monthly, weekly, and even daily. And then when are you going to do those actual things? And then once you've got those things, and you have to have structure around this, you need some kind of a system. You have to have a mechanism that is actually going to help you stay on top of that. You cannot just expect yourself to do well in terms of chaos with regards to that, right? So you need to make sure that you've got your systems in place with regards to that. And then another thing is, how are you going to hold yourself accountable? So a great way to actually do this is to have an accountability buddy, to enlist a coach to help you, or a mentor. But it's important that you choose someone that is actually going to help you stay on track, that is not going to allow you to fall back, right? They need to be there to actually help you move to that place. You don't want somebody that's just going to let you off the hook. That's really incredibly important. What I really want you to remember is, when it is that you are putting this thing together for yourself, you need to make sure that this is really about something that is important to you. It really needs to be something that is geared towards higher purpose and holds meaning. And why I say that is, when things get tough, and trust me when I say they will, that is going to be what stops you from quitting. And I need you to remember that your why is going to be the reason that you actually continue forward. So I hope that you've enjoyed this talk today. If you have enjoyed what it is that I've said, you can access more of this through a larger program where we talk about these things at more length, as well as things like defining your why, owning your obstacles, streamlining your environment, the art of non-attachment, and many more. If that's something that you are interested in, please do contact me so that I can assist you with regards to that. And I just want you to remember that John C. Maxwell said, the secret to your success lies in your daily routine. And that is so incredibly true. Right? Your success is going to be based on your ability to do the things that you need to do daily to get there. It is the culmination of all of these little things that you do consistently that will really start to gain momentum. And the last thing that I want to say to you is these beautiful words from Dr. James Hollis, and that is, whenever it is that you are doing something, you need to ask yourself two questions, and that is, what am I doing and in service of what? And this really talks to you making sure that what it is that you are creating for yourself is serving the right thing inside you. So is this thing that you're wanting to create serving higher purpose and growth for you? Or is this thing that you're wanting to create serving ego and external validation? Thank you so much for joining. I hope to see you again. Bye.